Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're looking at some really cool startups, specifically in the environmental tech and enterprise software spaces.
Hmm.
We're going to be looking at a blog post from Bearhug Recruiting. They help these startups find the best talent, and they put out a post this week summarizing all the funding activity that happened. And let me tell you, there's some really diverse companies and some surprising areas of innovation.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see that despite the current economic climate, there's still so much investment happening in these sectors. It seems like a signal that there's still a lot of confidence. In the long-term growth of these areas, Bearhug Recruiting actually calls these the most exciting and impactful segments and find, just looking at some of these companies that are raising money, I can totally see why they say that.
Right, so let's jump right in. I think the first one that really caught my eye
Mm.
was Luxwall. They raised a $51 million Series B round,
Hmm.
and their technology is wild. They've developed this glass-based insulation that's as effective as an opaque wall. It's called enthermal. Yeah, imagine all those buildings with these huge glass facades. They can be energy efficient now without having to sacrifice natural light.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, you think about the massive glazing market. It's a $35 billion market. So if they
Mhm.
can really capture a significant chunk of that, that's going to be a huge, huge win for them and for the environment.
Absolutely, and the investors seem to agree because they've got
Yeah.
some pretty big names backing them. Climate Investment, Barclays, Sustainable Impact Capital, even Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy Ventures and
Mhm.
Khosla Ventures.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are some serious players. So when you see that kind of investment coming in, you know that this is something that people are really paying attention to.
For sure. So we've seen how innovation is tackling energy efficiency in buildings, but what about like
Yeah.
how we move goods around in those buildings?
Yeah.
That's where third wave automation comes in. They're bringing AI into warehouses with their autonomous forklifts.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. When you talk about automation, people often think about like fully autonomous systems taking over everything. But third wave's approach is a little bit different. It's more nuanced. They have this shared autonomy platform, w- which allows these forklifts to operate in three different modes. They can be fully autonomous, they can be remote controlled by a human operator, or they can be manually driven. So it's really about giving workers better tools
Mhm.
and creating a safer, more efficient working environment, rather than just like replacing humans altogether.
I see. So it's more about like collaboration between humans and AI
Mm.
rather than just like AI taking over.
Exactly, yeah.
And it looks like this approach is attracting some attention
Hmm.
because Toyota's Woven Capital led their latest funding round. They got a $27 million injection to scale up their operations.
Oh, wow. It's a significant investment. It seems like even these traditional automotive giants are
Yeah.
really starting to see the potential in this kind of technology.
Yeah. You know, the global supply chain
Hmm.
facing all sorts of challenges right now. And
Yeah.
I think solutions like this that can increase efficiency and optimize logistics, they're going to be in really high demand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so get ready for this one because this is where things get really mind-blowing. Matter, the next company we're going to talk about, is using hyperspectral imaging from space.
From space.
Yeah,
That sounds like something out of Star Trek.
I know, right?
What
Uh,
exactly is hyperspectral imaging?
So imagine a camera that can see far beyond the visible light spectrum. It can capture information about the composition of materials on Earth's surface from orbit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Matter is
Okay.
using this technology to create
Yeah.
like a global material composition encyclopedia.
So they're basically like mapping the entire planet
Yeah.
in terms of like what it's made of.
Yeah, think about the possibilities. We could track deforestation, monitor crop health, even discover new mineral deposits, all from space.
That's incredible. I mean, the amount of data they must be collecting is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, they said they've already raised $18 million from investors like Lower Carbon Capital, which is focused on climate solutions. And even Mark Cuban. He's known for investing in cutting-edge tech.
Yeah, he definitely has a knack for spotting those really transformative technologies.
Absolutely. So it seems like space-based technology is becoming more and more important for addressing challenges here on Earth.
Yeah, and this is just one example. I mean, there are so many other ways that we can use satellites and other space-based technologies to, monitor the environment, track climate change,
Yeah.
manage resources more effectively.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see how this technology is being used for good.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit
Hmm.
and talk about AI, but not in the way you might think.
Right.
Bifrost AI is all about generative 3D data, which sounds incredibly complex.
It does sound complex.
I know, but it's actually about making AI smarter in the real world, and they just secured $8 million to make it happen.
Okay, so how does generative 3D data actually make AI smarter?
So think about it this way. Physical AI, like robots working in factories, or autonomous vehicles navigating city streets, they need a way to learn how to interact with the complexities of the real world, right?
Right. Boy.
That's where Bifrost's generative 3D data comes in. They create these incredibly detailed simulated environments. Think like ultra-realistic virtual worlds, where AI systems can be trained and tested in a safe, controlled setting.
Oh, so it's kind of like a video game for robots.
Exactly.
They get to practice in a virtual world before they're deployed in the real one.
Yeah, and they're focusing on some pretty heavy industries: aerospace, maritime manufacturing, areas where the stakes are high and precision is key.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be beneficial. You don't want a robot making a mistake on an oil rig or in a factory.
Right, exactly. So by training these AI systems in realistic simulations, Bifrost is helping to bridge the gap between the virtual and the real, paving the way for safer, more efficient, and more capable robots in the future.
That's really interesting. I mean, it makes sense. The more we can train these systems in a safe environment, the better prepared they'll be for the real world.
Exactly. Okay, so get ready for another mind-bending innovation. Searu Carbon just raised $5.3 million to capture carbon using wastewater.
Using wastewater.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy.
I would never have thought of that.
Me neither.
How does that even work?
So it's actually a really cool example of biomimicry, taking inspiration from nature to solve human problems.
Yeah.
So Searu Carbon leverages these natural mineral processes that happen in wastewater treatment to capture and store CO2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they enhance these processes using their technology, essentially turning wastewater treatment plants into carbon capture hubs.
So it's like a double win. We're cleaning our water and fighting climate change at the same time.
Exactly, and it actually reduces costs for these facilities, which makes it even more appealing.
That's incredible. You wouldn't think that wastewater treatment would be on the cutting edge of climate solutions.
Right, it just goes to show that innovation can come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to something completely different now. AI for sales teams. Avina just raised $3.2 million to become the AI wingman for B2B sales, making those interactions smoother and hopefully more successful.
Oh, that's interesting. So how does it work?
So Avina is all about taking the guesswork out of B2B sales. It uses data to provide sales teams with real-time insights, personalized communication prompts, and even task management tools. So imagine having an AI assistant that can analyze your prospects, suggest the best ways to approach them, and even remind you to follow up at the perfect time.
So it's kind of like having a super efficient sales coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly. No more generic emails or awkward cold calls. And they have some serious backing from top VC firms like NVP Capital and RRE Ventures.
Oh, wow. So they've got some real believers in their corner.
It seems like investors see real potential in this approach.
Yeah, it's a great example of how AI is moving beyond just automating tasks. It's becoming like a strategic partner, augmenting human capabilities and helping us to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we talked about AI in buildings, warehouses, even wastewater treatment. Now let's jump into the construction industry itself with Laudia. They're bridging the gap between high-end U.S. customers and fabricators in other parts of the world: Latin America, Southern Europe, North Africa.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So they're kind of like a global marketplace for construction materials.
Exactly. They've created this managed marketplace that streamlines the sourcing of construction materials, specifically fenestration products like windows and doors. They're connecting customers with high-quality fabricators in these regions, facilitating orders, reducing friction in the supply chain.
So it's about making it easier and more efficient to get the materials you need from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and they just secured $5 million
Yeah.
to further develop their AI-powered tools that will automate even more of this process.
Oh, wow. So they're really leaning into the AI side of things.
Yeah, they're aiming to create a seamless experience for both customers and suppliers, making it easier to find the right materials at the right price and get them delivered efficiently.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the construction industry is notoriously complex. So anything that can simplify and streamline the process is going to be valuable.
Absolutely.
Especially as we're seeing these global supply chain disruptions.
Right, exactly. So from AI-powered sales assistants to space-based imaging, it's clear that innovation is happening at an incredible pace. And it's not just about flashy gadgets. It's about solving real-world problems and creating a more sustainable, efficient, and interconnected future. But how do we ensure that all this technological advancement benefits everyone and not just a select few? That's something we'll explore in part 2 of our deep dives.
Yeah, that's a really important question, and it's one that we need to be asking ourselves constantly as we develop and deploy these new technologies.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into the implications of these trends and what they mean for the future.
As we've been talking about all these companies, one thing that really stands out to me is this thread of sustainability that runs through so many of these innovations. It's not just about making things more efficient or profitable. It seems like there's a real effort to develop solutions that are better for the planet.
Yeah, it is really encouraging to see that shift. Like we started with Luxwall, you know, creating energy-efficient buildings with their glass insulation. But then we saw Zero Carbon taking something that we usually consider a problem, wastewater,
Yeah.
and turning it into a solution for carbon capture.
Right. It's a great example of how we can find innovative solutions in unexpected places.
For sure.
And it really highlights the fact that sustainability isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's a must have for any company that wants to be successful in the long term.
Absolutely. And it's not just about reducing our environmental impact either. It's also about creating a more resilient and equitable future. Take Loctite, for instance. They're connecting U.S. customers with fabricators in other parts of the world, which not only streamlines the supply chain, but also creates economic opportunities in regions that might not have had access to those markets before.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It's a great example of how technology can be a force for good, breaking down barriers and fostering global collaboration.
Absolutely.
And by leveraging AI to optimize their platform, they're making it even easier for businesses to connect and thrive.
Speaking of AI, we've seen some pretty incredible applications today, from those autonomous forklifts at Third Wave Automation to Avina's AI wingman for sales teams. It seems like AI is popping up everywhere. Do you think this is just a trend, or is it something more fundamental?
I think it's definitely more than just a trend. AI is becoming a foundational technology, much like the internet or electricity. It's transforming the way we live and work, and we're really just starting to scratch the surface of its potential.
Okay, but with all this talk about AI, I have to ask, what about the concerns people have about job displacement? I mean, if robots can drive forklifts and AI can handle sales calls, what's left for humans to do?
That's a really important question, and it's one that we need to be thinking about carefully. I think the key is to view AI not as a replacement for human workers, but as a tool that can augment our capabilities and free us up to focus on more creative and strategic tasks.
So it's not about humans versus machines. It's about humans working with machines.
Exactly. Think about it. Would you rather spend your day doing repetitive data entry or brainstorming new ideas, building relationships, solving complex problems? AI can handle the routine tasks, allowing us to focus on what we do best: thinking, creating, connecting.
That makes sense. But I'm still a little wary of handing over so much control to algorithms. What about bias in AI? How do we ensure that these systems are fair and equitable?
That's another crucial point. AI systems are only as good as the data they are trained on. And if that data reflects existing biases in society, those biases will be amplified in the AI's decisions. So it's crucial that we are mindful of these biases and work to create AI systems that are fair, transparent, and accountable.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the people who are developing and deploying it. We need to ensure that we have diverse teams working on these technologies, and that we're constantly evaluating them for potential bias.
Absolutely. And it's not just the responsibility of tech companies either. It's a societal issue that requires collaboration between policymakers, researchers, educators, and the public. We need to be having open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI and work together to create a future where these technologies are used to benefit everyone.
And speaking of benefiting everyone, let's talk about some of the companies that are really pushing the boundaries of innovation in the environmental space. Matter, with their hyperspectral imaging from space, blew my mind earlier. Imagine the possibilities if we could monitor deforestation, track pollution, and manage resources with that kind of data.
It's a really exciting development. Think about it. We could track illegal logging operations in real time, identify sources of pollution before they cause widespread damage, even predict and prevent natural disasters by monitoring changes in the environment. It's like having a global watchdog for the planet.
Wow, that's incredible. It seems like we're entering an era where technology can truly be a force for good in addressing some of the biggest challenges facing humanity. But with great power comes great responsibility, right? How do we ensure that these powerful technologies are used wisely and ethically?
That's the question we need to be asking ourselves constantly. And there are no easy answers. But I think it starts with awareness. We need to be informed about the capabilities and limitations of these technologies and engage in thoughtful discussions about their potential impact on society.
And it's not just about the big, flashy innovations either. It's also about the smaller, everyday applications of technology. That can make a real difference. Like those smart security cameras from Spot. They're not just about catching criminals. They can also help to improve safety in workplaces, prevent accidents, and even optimize traffic flow.
Right. It's all about using technology in a way that enhances our lives and makes our community safer, healthier, and more sustainable. And that's what I find so exciting about this wave of innovation. It's not just about creating new gadgets, it's about using technology to solve real world problems
Mhm.
and create a better future for all of us.
It's been awesome exploring all these companies and the ways they're using technology to tackle real-world problems. But as we've been saying, you know, it's not enough to just focus on the wow factor. We need to ask the tough questions about the impact of these advancements.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, innovation for innovation's sake isn't enough. We need to be thinking about the implications of these technologies and make sure they're being developed responsibly.
So let's dive into some of those tougher questions then. One thing that comes up a lot with AI is bias. We've talked about how AI systems are trained on data. And if that data reflects existing biases in society, those biases can get amplified in the AI's decisions. How do we address that?
That's a tough one, and there's no easy answer. But I think one important step is making sure that the teams developing these AI systems are diverse and representative of the people they'll be serving. If everyone working on a facial recognition system looks the same, they might not even realize that the system is less accurate at identifying faces of people with different skin tones.
Right, so diversity is key to bringing in those different perspectives and lived experiences, and that can help identify and mitigate potential biases as these technologies are being designed and developed. What are some other ways we can ensure AI is used ethically?
Well, I think transparency is really important. We need to be able to understand how these systems are making decisions and what data they're using so that we can audit them and hold them accountable. We need to make sure these systems aren't being used in ways that are harmful or discriminatory.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, sunlight is the best disinfectant. The more transparency we have, the better. What about job displacement? I think a lot of people worry that as AI gets more sophisticated, it'll start automating away a lot of jobs that people rely on.
It's a valid concern, and we need to be prepared for those changes. But I think instead of trying to stop automation, which is probably impossible, we need to focus on getting people ready for those new jobs, investing in education and training programs that teach people the skills they need for the future.
So instead of being afraid of AI as a job killer, we should be looking at it as an opportunity to rethink how we work.
Exactly. We can create new roles that leverage both human and artificial intelligence.
Where are we seeing that happening already?
Well, healthcare is a great example. AI is being used to assist doctors in diagnosing diseases, analyzing medical images, developing personalized treatment plans. But it's not replacing the doctor, it's just giving them more tools and information to work with.
Like a superpowered brain to help with those complex tasks, leaving the human expert to focus on the things that need. Empathy, intuition, creativity. What about the environmental impact of all this technology? I mean, we've seen some amazing companies tackling climate solutions, but there's also this concern that all this computing power and data storage needs a lot of energy, which could actually add to the problem.
Right. We have to think about the environmental footprint of technology. We need to be developing energy-efficient hardware in data centers, and maybe even exploring other ways of computing, like quantum computing, which could be way more energy efficient.
So it's not just about making new tech, it's about making it sustainable. What about investors? They have a lot of influence over which technologies get developed.
Oh, for sure. Investors are realizing that sustainability is good for business. Companies that are environmentally and socially responsible are more attractive to customers, investors, and employees.
So there's a real incentive to do the right thing.
Hmm.
As we wrap up, what are you most excited about in the world of tech and innovation? And what makes you most cautious?
I'm excited about the potential for technology to help us solve some of the world's biggest challenges. Climate change, disease poverty. We have the tools and the knowledge to build a better future, but we also need to be careful. These technologies could be misused, or they can make existing inequalities worse if we're not paying attention. We need to make sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Couldn't agree more. That's why these conversations are so important. By exploring these innovations and asking the tough questions, we can help shape the future of tech so it benefits everyone. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been fantastic.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. something we create together. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions